All right, we are live for the Thursday edition of the Morning Check-In, and as always, excited to be back. Hopefully today can actually get through a full live stream without any glitches, hiccups, or whatever. But yeah, for those who tuned in yesterday, it was just straight bananas. But then again, and apparently it was internet issues in an area, whatever. But here we are today. Let's make the most of this time. So I want to kind of pick up where I left off yesterday in reference to the CPI figures that came out that, of course, was unexpectedly higher. And then today we have PPI, which is unexpectedly higher. So, that's the headlines that we see unexpectedly. I'm like, who exactly didn't expect these figures to trend back upward, given that we are heading towards what is obviously going to be a second surge of price increases. And so here we have price increases across the board. Even the Federal Reserve is concerned. But then again, no one talks about why that is. And could it have anything to do with the fact that the money supply is also going back up? I don't know. But then again, we're going to talk about that and lots of other things. So welcome to the live stream. For those who are plugged in, appreciate you for blessing me with your time. And hopefully you guys leave here better than you came in, as far as being spiritually charged up, as well as somewhat encouraged to continue to do what you know best, which is to get your weight up. That is the best hedge against any promises from our administration or leaders in general, because we know what's at stake here. So anyway, it's going to be a good day. And so as always, I'm going to give you some good news, which is the daily devotional, and then we'll get into some resources. Then we'll get into the noise being the headlines that's given to us from the mainstream news sources, as well as alternative media people. And then we'll try to process it and make sense of it, just come up with a more accurate narrative that is beneficial for the people. That's what it's all about. So hope everyone is doing well. Let me know where you're watching from in the chat. Appreciate everybody for checking in with me thus far. Before I move forward, let me just continue to remind people where they can go. I'm trying to always improve on the back end here by being able to show people, give people resources and things of that nature. So bear with me, people. But as always, for those plugged in, if you haven't, definitely hit that subscribe button, bell notification, check mark, whatever it is, so you'll be notified when we go live. And then also for those who will find value here today, which I believe you will, consider being a partner with me, or just someone that contributes monetarily speaking. So if you so feel kind and want to donate any of the mediums here, links in the description, you can do that as well. I will never turn down being blessed by those who appreciate the services here. So thank you for that. And then also for those who are new, never know, 10 quick questions to test your dollar IQ. And as of right now, it's about 60%. I see more people taking it. So I'm going to continue to remind people. This is just a way to get yourself going down the monetary rabbit hole that I've been doing for quite some time now. Just trying to better understand the system that's been set up around us and the dangers of it. And that's what this show is all about. So take the quiz and then take the rest of the steps, rethinkingthedollar.com. And then it'll lead you to what I consider the Dollarcation monetary cheat sheet, which is a infographic of everything that I've talked about for the last umpteen years that will give you a broader viewpoint as to what's going on as a resource for your educational journey. And of course, there's other things as well. So let's get into the good news. Then we will dive into some other resources and keep it moving. So as of now, it looks like I think I am good on the audio side. Appreciate everybody for checking in. Solo says, if you're here, hit the like button. Appreciate it. We got beautiful sunrise. Says great rising, everyone. What else we got? LBP's in the building. What's up, my man? We got Lamont checking in from North Carolina. Appreciate you guys, man. It's always good to see my regulars. Appreciate you guys. Okay, so let's get into some good news, and then we're gonna keep it moving. All right, the good news of the day. So I'm really honing in on Matthew. I've been deliberately placing Matthew 13 for quite some time now. It's just so loaded with revelation in reference to what is available to us from the kingdom perspective. So it's going to be something I'm going to spend more time on, and I'm working on some other things as well, which hopefully enriches your spiritual journey as well. And it says here, understanding the kingdom. And this is just a simple one-liner from Yeshua himself. It says, therefore, hear the parable of the sower. Matthew 13:18. And it says, Jesus said, hear the parable of the sower. But why is this so important? Because the kingdom of God is not just heard, it must be understood. It says the seed contains within it all the revelation of the kingdom. Some hear it, but distractions steal it away. Others receive it with joy, but fall away when tested. Some are choked by the cares of this world. But then there are those who understand, who have what I consider to be spiritual comprehension. They don't just hear it, they grasp it, they live it, and they bear fruit. It says the kingdom is not for casual listeners. It's for those who hunger for eternal truths. Today, ask yourself, are you just hearing or are you understanding? Because only those who understand will produce the harvest offered by the king. It says a call to action. Let the word take deep root in your heart today. Ask God the Father for greater understanding and watch the kingdom flourish in your life. And that, my friends, is the good news of the day. Okay, man, that was just such a rich, man, that was a rich word. Got me fired up this morning. I'm happy to share it with you guys as always. All right, let's get into some other things here. I want to touch on just my partners, man. Colonials Metals Group, excited what they're doing over there. And I want to continue to bring that to the community as well. So for those who are new, never know, but colonialsmetalsgroup.com/RTD have partnered with me here to basically help you guys diversify outside of the traditional investment model of 60-40. So here you have an opportunity to get information from this PDF here by filling out this form on how to get involved with a self-directed IRA. We can hold gold and silver directly in your possession as a way of diversifying outside of the conventional methods. And so if you're interested, go to the link here, colonialsmetalsgroup.com/RTD, right beneath this video. Click this, download this, and or call them and ask questions in reference to what's available for you. And then, of course, those who participate, you'll be getting back into sound, true, and tested monetary mediums, which throughout history have proven to never fail thus far. So just something for those who are interested. So check them out and you will be blessed by utilizing them. And then next, I want to talk about the gold backs. And so once again, just another way of diversifying outside of traditional means and paper. And so once again, if you guys are interested, you can redeem Federal Reserve notes and get 24 karat gold polymer notes as a way to save or to spend, depending on which state you're in. If you're on the West Coast, there are actual stores where you can go in and spend these units here. I was actually out in Utah. I went to the headquarters. And once again, it's just a phenomenal facility they have there, and definitely looking forward to doing more with them as well. But once again, buygoldnotes.com is just a way you can go to take care of those opportunities there. So, okay, let's get into some nuts and bolts, man. As always, I want to take a quick glance at the metals prices right now because it looks like we are right where we were yesterday-ish, but then well beyond where we were a year ago. $2,900 for an ounce of gold, $32 for an ounce of silver. And just for a quick glimpse as to where we have come thus far, let me just zoom on down to the bottom. Give me a second here so we can look at things from a much more longer viewpoint. So let me get my screen here. And so literally this is the last month worth of activity here. So as you can see above my head here, this is the last month. So from January 14th till today, January 14th, let me get this out the way here. January 14th, the price of 1 ounce was $2,668. Get that, $2,668, January 14th. Here we are today, 1 month later, February 13th, it is $2,918. So that's about a $300 or so increase within a less than a month. And we are nowhere near a top because as I was mentioning, there's no ceiling as to how high, nominally speaking, gold can go because there's no floor low enough where the dollar won't sink. And speaking of sinking, I want to touch on a little bit what I mentioned yesterday. And so let me just jump right into it, man. We're not wasting any time. Yesterday, when I attempted to deliver some information, I was talking about Trump's call for quantitative easing. At the same time, we're seeing the CPI figures increase. And so you would think that would not be ideal, but when we know the end result is to lower the valuation of our dollar, i.e. to have a lower dollar index so that it makes it more likely that Trump can accomplish the tariffs and everything like that. So we all know that this is ultimately going to lead to, as I said a year ago, hyper stagflation, where we have asset price increases as well as overall standard of living for the average person coming down because the purchasing power in your dollars don't buy much. And so those who have will get richer. Those who don't have will get poorer. Ultimately speaking, that's what we're up against. And of course, they know that. But the whole goal is to transition us into whatever their solution will be as it comes. And it looks like stable coins are going to be the preferred method that the commercial banks will have access to. And I'll get into that as well. So everything is right on course for the grand finale of this reset, however it unfolds. So that's why I say gold and silver is the best insurance hedge against a failing currency. But you know that, thank God. Okay, let's get into some information here. So for those who are interested, everything I'm going to talk about can be found here on the rtd.news website. And so I'll put everything here, links in the description, check it out, and you can get plugged into everything. But real quick here, I want to just hone in on this. So yesterday, when I was attempting to deliver some information that I thought was going to be juicy, I got interrupted. But I put everything together here in a short little article here for those to read. And it's called Trump's Market Moonshot, the MAGA Wealth Effect or Just More Inflation. It's both of the same. Using inflation to make people appear as if they're getting wealthier while all along they're transitioning out of the old currency into the new is what it boils down to. But within this article here, what I was talking about was the idea that we're experiencing a monetary phenomenon where every country's every country's having the same results as the other. Over indebtedness is leading to a diminishing of purchasing power of the currencies. Currencies are failing, therefore it's time to rebrand them all. And Trump is well aware of this, and so as a part of the illusionary wealth transfer, he's going to make it appear as if the best place to be will be the digital assets, i.e. the sovereign wealth fund, which is going to include wealth cryptos of all kind and all type of natural resources. And this has a lot to do with what I'm going to talk about in reference to Trump's desire to have Zelensky give us rare minerals, which as of right now, he's pausing. So somebody got the word to him to, take a little break on this great movement that Trump is pulling off right now. But we'll get to that. But expect more asset price appreciation and less purchasing power for your pockets if you're holding on and depending on fiat currency. Okay. So for those who want to find out more, check that out. But here we got, just want to get into some of the primary things here. And a lot of these come from commentary from analysts as well as other people on social media, i.e. X, which is a good way of getting a more unbiased viewpoint on subject matter. So price rise as money supply climbs. And so this is a result of what we're getting here from January PPI figures. So real quick, I'm going to just go over these things here. They may be new to you, may not. Some people may have checked in already and got some news. Some people may not, but I want to just give you the nuts and bolts so I can lay out my argument as to where we're at, what to expect, and more importantly, encourage you to continue to do what you're already doing. And so here we got from Kobayashi letter. Great little summary here. It says January PPI inflation unexpectedly rises to 3.5% above expectations of 3.2. Once again, whenever I see these words unexpectedly and expectations, I know that it comes from the same people who are a part of making sure that the numbers favor them and not, predict or not determine reality. And so the fact that it was 3.2, but it came out to 3.5, clearly they understated it initially because the metrics are flawed. So it shouldn't be a surprise to you when we know this thing is going to go up, and I'll show you why. Then it says here, core PPI inflation was 3.6 above expectations at 3.3. And then it shows here all the graphs highlighting the same thing that he's talking about here. So year over year, 3.5 is up, and year over year, core is also up. It says PPI inflation is now at the highest since February 2023, while CPI jumped 0.5 month over month as well. It said the Fed pivot is over. And so that was the idea of literally reversing course, lowering interest rates. So now literally they're at a pause. And the right thing to do would be to raise rates well beyond these figures that we have here so that they can really put out the fire. But because they can't do that, because it is further stranglehold the economy, slow down business and everything else, and it would completely ruin Trump's narrative of wanting to make America great again. So that's why Trump is coming out calling for lower interest rates amongst all these things we're seeing here. So he has the stats. He knows that inflation is going to continue to be a problem, but yet he's also calling for lower interest rates, i.e. quantitative easing to begin. So that right there tells us that there's something happening as far as a crisis behind the scenes. And so who's caught in the middle? The holders of these units right here. And everybody who expects to be paid out as some type of future promise in these instruments right here. But we know that. Okay, so what does all this mean? Let's get back to what I'm referring to here. And if I go back here, this gets me into the very first one I want to touch on. Here we have prices rise as money supply climbs. So this is from Kobayashi letter. Not Kobayashi letter, I'm sorry, Jess Colombo. And so here we have what's at stake here. And so this is his commentary. And so just for those who might not be familiar with his work, precious metals analyst and investor, advocate for free markets and sound money, has 174,000 followers on his Twitter account. He also writes for a lot of major news syndicates. So he's very neutral with his positions. He's not pro central bank or anything of that nature. He shoots it straight, I believe. So this is what his commentary says. And this is why I wanted to lead off with this. U.S. producer prices are rising at their fastest rate in 2 years, reinforcing the growing risk of stagflation. I highlighted it last night. This is from his article. A situation that is excellent for gold and silver. Then he gives us some graphs here. So this is what we're looking at. So as of right here, you can see above my head, this is what we're up against right here. So we came down from that first wave. See, the first wave got up to these figures where it was just off the charts, 40-year highs. Came down. Fed start talking good. We got to contain. Now we can start cutting. Oh, okay. Start cutting. At the same time they start cutting, guess what happened? Inflation started picking up again because it wasn't transitory. It's permanent. It's a part of the system. And so here we are now on the upward trend. And this goes back to where I showed some visual aids from Tavi Costa, another analyst that talked about the second wave and how the second wave, based upon previous times in history, is always worse. Clearly, the Trump administration has to know this. They do. And so here we are now. Why is all this becoming a issue? Because M2 supply has also been trending upward ever since they began the QT process, and they've minimized the amount of debt that they allow to roll off their balance sheets, i.e. slowing down the rate of tightening. So therefore, we only can expect an increase in money supply, especially as Trump yells for cutting interest rates, which will spur lending, i.e. borrowing, more debt creation, more monetization of everything. Therefore, M2 will go higher. And mind you, the thing with M2, we're seeing right here above my head, this is some figures from his chart here. We're witnessing M2 tick up. And mind you, there's a 6 to 7 or so lag period before what's created actually shows up in the main street as far as actual prices and things of that nature. So based upon what we're witnessing now with the slow uptick of PPI and CPI, that's probably more than likely from where this arrow begins. We're starting to see some increased tick up based upon where this red arrow began. And so we haven't even gotten into the bulk of this arrow here, which will be the 6 or 7 month time frame that comes after the fact. Because if I'm looking correctly, this is, let me see, probably towards the end of 2023, 2024 that we're starting to notice this uptick, and they start cutting rates last year. So it's going to be very interesting how this administration is able to jawbone their way out of the obvious. And so we're going to see more Jerome Powell, more Trump back and forth talking about what's best for the economy. And all in all, we're seeing here what's going to happen. And then it doesn't help when we have the 10-year interest still flirting with the idea of probably touching 5% at some time soon when something officially breaks. So right now we're 4.5. So we're going to be in very interesting time frames. Let me go. So last 5 years, ever since the Biden regime came into play, our borrowing cost has been trending upward. And so the inverted yield curve is still an issue where something is broken and it's time to pay the piper. Okay, so with that being said, we can only expect more of the same thing. Trump will call for lower rates, therefore more monetary creation, therefore prices will go up, therefore gold and silver will have to respond, gold before silver. While all along, Trump's advisory team wants crypto to become the center point. So you're going to hear more Bitcoin narratives. And eventually, what will be the ultimate distraction, I believe, is when they let the caps off of the crypto space go and it starts shooting up, because that will be the ultimate distraction. When the headlines, CNBC, Fox, everybody named mother talk about Bitcoin reaches all-time new high, and then Trump comes out taking ownership of it, distracting us off of other things, and then he started talking about, the banks can now hold your custody, they can now custody your stuff, the banks, and wow, it'll be fully implemented. Crypto will be fully captured. And we will then at that point be right where they planned all along. And, people, the maximalists would be like, man, this is, institutional adoption. This is what we've been waiting on, because they are large holders of bags. And then mom and pops, the retirees that will be lured into it, will be the suckers that get drawn in, pumping everybody else's bag before the plug is pulled out from underneath them. It's quite, it's quite predictable. But then again, it's to them it's just a game, but to us it's our lives. And a lot of people will be hurt. But then again, this has all happened before, so there's nothing new here. Okay, so let's keep it going. Let's get into some other headlines. Lots of things going on here. Let me just give it to you straight. So I have everything here listed, but as I mentioned, Trump was calling on Zelensky giving us $500 billion worth of natural resources as a payback for what the Biden administration did. And so Bassett went over there with a contract to be signed by Zelensky, but for some reason, Zelensky decided to, let's hold off. And so this is what's trending right now over on X. And so we have the idea that Zelensky is not so cooperative for whatever reason. So it says Zelensky delays rare earth deal, has not yet signed a financial deal concerning rare earth minerals proposed by U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. It says decision follows discussions and representation of a draft agreement during a meeting in Kiev. Further analysis and final decision on the matter are expected to be announced at the upcoming Munich Security Conference. So once again, he agreed on it, but then Bessent got there, something changed. So will Zelensky try to use this as a way to try to get a little bit more out the deal for his country, or more likely for his pockets, and go from there? And eventually, I'd assume, I don't hear Trump talk much about the sham of a war between those two nations with Russia and Ukraine. But Putin invited Trump over to the country, so we'll see if he takes that invitation and goes, and they come back with some type of jaw-dropping deal that really squashes that, and we move on to the next crises that will come. You better believe. And this is where, I'm not a doom and gloomer. I'm just a realist, where when you have an enemy against you meaning the people, they're not going to stop. Like with all this hopium happening right now, based upon Trump's 3 weeks now of all the things that's been exposed, especially with the USAID stuff, like the fact that all these dollars of corruption are being exposed. That same entity was in operations during his previous administration, but it wasn't a big deal then because there was so much other stuff to distract us with. But USAID has been in operations for quite some time now, using it as a funneling for funds in all types of forms and fashions. So the corruption has always been there, but right now people are hyper focused on it, and the mainstream media is eating it up. And therefore, that to me is another distraction, which keeps us focused on this while all this other stuff happens all around us. And we, as the people who are impacted by this, we can't come into agreement on one particular issue to focus on to really hold this administration accountable. And so this goes to the video I did the other day about, do people even care anymore as to who the operators are of all of this stuff that's being done to us? And so this is a part of the divide and conquer model, which has worked so well, where you can have 350 million Americans and all of them have something that concerns them in a variety of forms and fashions, to where we can't unify on anything. And that's the whole goal of politics. That's the whole left-right paradigm of Republicans, Democrats, to keep us divided, to where there should be a common 3 or 4 things that we should all agree upon, that we demand from our government, because they're supposed to be servants of the people, not the people serve them. And so because I don't see us getting back on the same page, because I can always see there's people that will be in the comment section saying that, Mike, you're talking about Trump, he's our only hope and he's this, he's that. I'm like, but hope for what? And here's the thing, and I'm going to stop ranting on this one. But as of now, I have yet to see anybody or have anybody tell me with a pure, concise, straight to the point definition, what does it mean to make America great again? Like, give me a pure bullet point, like clear, concise explanation as to what that means. And that'll help me with my narration of the news, because I can then hold him or them or whoever. I can hold Doge, Elon accountable. I can hold people accountable, because we can have something to actually measure and gauge from, rather than just a very vague and abstract narration of a mantra, a slogan. So that's just something that I think about. So that's just a question I will put out there to other people because I know I'm not the only one that thinks that way. Okay. More headlines. You came here for the headlines. Let's get into this more headline. Okay. So as always, I have more things on here that I won't be able to get to. That's why I put this together so you can go and check it for yourself. But here's something as well. The tariffs will continue. As I mentioned yesterday, for those who may not have heard it, the Democrats or the left want to tax the wealthy with higher taxes. We know before Biden left, they were talking about, increasing the taxation rates and all that stuff like that. But the Republicans on the other side, they want to decrease taxes so they can keep more of what they earn or whatever they steal. And so now the Republican narrative, led by Trump, is about tariffs, taxing the world, making them pay their fair share. So as you can see, left want to tax the rich want to tax the world. Tax, all what? Denominated in a dollar. And here we have a call or a explanation by Bank of America. U.S. tariffs will weaken the dollar if nations strike back. So do you think nations won't strike back if they are threatened to be taxed, i.e. just have more of an earnest expenditure cost for their own debt service as well as to do business with us? It just makes it more challenging for them and their currencies. So they have no choice but to strike back. And so just the fact Bank of America came out with this is like, okay, well, this is something that would be worth considering. And so it says U.S. budget. Let me give me a second here. I can get us a different version. And I'll just read through it real quick. Just because tariffs is the same as taxes upon the rich, it's done by a different party. It's going to hurt the holders of the currency. Hands down. No way around it. And I just want to continue to drive that home because you won't hear that particular narrative from the mainstream media outright. They can never tell you to diversify outside of your own national currency for your own best interest. So here we got the article. It says U.S. debt budget hits record $840 billion over the past 4 months. Budget deficit. Think about that. Almost $1 trillion in 4 months. Debt, interest, costs, health, Social Security boosting spending. So here we got from January alone, the deficit grew by $129 billion. The deficit. So the government brought in X, but more went out. And money that's not even there. So that's how they had to borrow. So interest costs. And so there's actually a graph. Let me find it. There's a better visual aid of this. So you can see what it looks like. Let me give it to you real quick. I think this is all relevant because it just highlights further the issues that will only get worse because there has been no viable solutions provided that I have seen. So let me share with you. This is the visual aid that better highlights what I just read. Give me a second, bring it on the screen here. Okay, so here you got, this is just a visual aid I want to saw. I knew what I was looking for, and this is happened to be Daniel, whoever he is, Horowitz. Looks like he is a senior editor at theblaze.com. So he's 226,000. Okay, it says we have an 846 billion deficit just for the first third of the fiscal year. Revenues are 0.7% from time last year, but spending is up 15%. There's no way. Let me see. Let me know if you guys can still hear me. Just got, man. Okay, so let me just keep moving because if not, I'm going to lose my connection. So real quick here, this is what it looks like. So as you can see here, dark blue are expenditures, deficit. So the total receipts, 1.5 trillion brought in. Total went out, 2.43 trillion. The deficit, this little section right here is the deficit and all the excess costs and stuff like that. So this is what it looks like visually. $200 names who have been receiving billions. So this is from a video that I was going to play, but I'm not. But just for the sake of giving it to you straight, you guys can go see it yourselves. So here's a video here, a 2-minute clip where he talks about today. This is from yesterday, about today. He's going to release 200 names of where all those trillions of funds have gone to. And once again, he's going to list names. But because it's from the government, it's a sham. It's a shame and a sham. But it's not illegal because it's from a government entity. So it's not like they can prosecute those individuals, because it's good to say the average Joe, if it's a grant or something given from the government, like, it's legal. So it's like you shut down an entity and stop giving it. It's the only thing he can actually do. And so as of now, it looks like I'm frozen. Hopefully, let me see. Hopefully I'm not frozen. Let me know. So it looks like I'm frozen. Okay, so looks like things are getting choppy. Man, this is unbelievable. Anyway, okay, so let me keep it moving. For those who can hear me, forgive me. I see it's choppy. I see it's choppy, but I'm gonna do the best I can. So let me keep moving. But so once again, you guys get the gist of everything. Hopefully, you still can hear me, and we're gonna keep it moving. But with that being the case, we have 30 minutes or so, and due to looks like there might be some technical issues, I don't know, but I'm going to just get ready to draw it down from there. So this is just some things that's worth touching on. If you guys want to get the gist of everything, then you can just go to the RTD News. And so all the information I was going to talk about is on this page here. And so, of course, there's 4 or 5 more stories I was going to get to, but for the sake of, not sure if I'm streaming correctly or not, everything is here. But a lot of things I want to touch on that